Hello, my Libra collective, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs in twin flame relationships. Welcome to your September reading. I have to tell you, the blessing of the decks was just lovely, and we'll get into it. And you like that thing around my neck? I was inspired. That's Eros's bow, the bow of Eros. I usually wear it around my wrist, and just today I looked at it, and I guess it was Eros or Aphrodite. He said, make that a torque around your neck. And I just saw it, so I took the chain, I polished it, and boom, there we go. And that ain't coming off. That is on there. So I'm gonna go with it because it's symmetrical, it's balanced, and Aphrodite and Eros share the throne of Libra. I have my Venus in Libra. So let's see how this one goes. So we're doing this one a little bit differently. Every time I do it differently, I always have to remember to say this. If you have not yet, please check out the video Clarifying Twin Flames, Soulmates, and True Lovers, the video that I did. It just kind of explains where I'm coming from, that this is probably a somewhat radically different interpretation of a twin flame than what most people are used to, that these are transformative, turbulent soul contracts that teach you how to love yourself, how to heal yourself, how to give yourself what the twin flame cannot give you. Soulmates are satisfying, but I find they're so satisfying that bumps in the road tend to work themselves out because you love each other and you're there to help each other heal. It's just a different dynamic entirely. So remember, these readings are not about purely, solely sexual romantic. I'm thinking of doing a quickie series on that. We'll see. It's in development with the angels, the gods, and the masters. So let's get down to work. There's something very, very fun. Let's have fun with this. I kept hearing, let's have fun. But they also told me to breathe and make sure I slow down. They told me for this round of twin flame readings to take my time. And if they're an hour, they're an hour, just to give it what I got. All right? So here we go. My pantheon of angels, gods, and masters, please, from the Carolyn Mace archetype deck. What is the dominant archetype that the Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign in this twin flame relationship is developing within themselves, dealing with within themselves, that piece of the contract that they signed up for? Oh, the vampire. Oh, I was wondering when that one was going to come up. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, you know, take a breath. Don't click off just yet. It's not all what you think. Although some of you are fucking psyched. I can feel that you vampire. There's a crack in the mirror and a blood stain on my bed. Oh, so yeah, let's just leave that there. Well, that threw me a little bit too. I mean, it's a big deck. You figure, you know, what are the chances of all of them coming up with the vampire archetype? There's a video of mine on Vimeo called Vampires and Witches, and it's about the vampire archetype. It really is. Tarot junkies and psychic vampires and all that stuff. So so that's you in this twin flame relationship for September. Let's get one for the other, right? The twin, your twin. So my angels, gods, and masters, we're off to a very, very fun start. Please. Oh yeah, sorry, it's still dark moon. It's not new moon. Yeah, I'm doing this the day of new moon, but it's like what? Yeah, it's 3:45 a.m. Is what I do for a living, and it's quiet. So please, my collective pantheon of angels, gods, and masters, please, one card for the twin in this twin flame relationship. What is the dominant archetype going on there? That piece of the contract. Oh, the advocate. This just came up in a previous reading. The advocate. The advocate, the vampire, and the advocate, the vampire advocate. It totally sounds like a movie. Well, we've had the Vampire Diaries. We've had the vampire everything. Why not? The vampire advocate. The vampire advocacy group. That's so Terry Pratchett. That's so Terry Pratchett Discworld. All right, let me stay focused. They did say stay grounded because this is very, very airy. I mean, it's an air sign, Libra, obviously, but it's cardinal air. It's creative air. So there's a creativity and an expansion going on here. So I have to really stay grounded, like more so than Gemini with mutable air. This is like expansive. So let's have a look here. One now, we've got one for you, we've got one for the twin, now one for the relationship overall. My angels, gods, and masters, please, what's the dominant archetype going on in this twin flame relationship for this vampire Libra and the twin, the advocate? Please, the overall, overarching, I hear you, overarching archetype. The storyteller. Interesting, 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 interesting. Let me read these starting from the top. Yes, we'll start with the vampire. We'll save the best for first. Now, the vampire is not what you think it is, but let's have a look-see at its light and shadow to make the point that there are certain archetypes that are so well known for their light that you don't consider their dark, and vice versa. There are some archetypes that you consider so dark that you don't consider their light. This is certainly one of those cases, but as dark as an archetype is in its lead, is as brilliant as it is in its light, in its gold. And the converse is also true. The ones that you think of as, oh, just pure gold, their shadows are just as treacherous, right? Lethal. So the vampire archetype, the light attribute, makes you aware that someone or something is draining your life force. This really does speak to first wave collectives here in terms of the empaths, in terms of the energetically sensitive or the sensitive in general. That so much can drain us if we are not aware of what we're doing, and if we're not aware of what's draining us, right? That what is the drain? We're picking up on something. So the shadow attribute, depleting others for your psychic survival, chronic complaining, and codependency. All right. So that there's so much about the vampire archetype. I mean, literally, I have taught hours in a classroom to students about this. This is part of when I teach my tarot workshops. It's level 3. I only do 3 levels of it. Level 3, we look at tarot junkies and psychic vampires, and occasionally, if you're really good as a reader, you get a psychic vampire tarot junkie, right? It's just how it is. So just know with that the codependent tendencies that come with the vampire archetype, right? They are parasitic. Vampires, however, need permission. They have to be invited in. Someone actually has to offer their neck. So vampires can have a whole lot of different victims. But you see, the thing is, how do you heal a vampire? Well, you kill the vampire that sired them. That often has to do with forgiveness. There's such depth and power there. And particularly with the amount of vampires in our culture for the past 100 years, more, I think it really does speak of something in the collective, particularly that the path of true love deals with. Because to me, the vampire in its shadow. I can't help you with that at the moment. Great, my phone just thought I was talking to her. Thank you. Go sleep now. Didn't invite her in. As scary as the vampire is in its shadow, the light I call the vampire slayer or the vampire healer. So huge opportunity here for you to clear a pattern, because by the way, I don't know that people are born vampires. I think vampires are made, but that means if you incarnate with that archetype lifelong, that you incarnated into a family where they pretty much immediately vampired you. The whole codependent thing. And you know what? It is just part of being empathic, that you feel what other people are feeling in the moment. You interpret it as they don't like you, or there's something wrong with you, and so you do everything that you can to make them feel better, meanwhile draining the crap out of them. Yeah, can be, just saying. That's codependence. That's vibrational codependence. There's something to look at. Now, here with your twin, though, is the advocate. I mean, this is really interesting. The advocate, I'm just going to show you the card, right? Light attribute inspires you to put compassion into action. So here's somebody with this soul calling to be compassionate, right? But not just to be compassionate in any passive way, in terms of action, which does kind of indicate, this really does kind of indicate divine feminine, divine masculine here. I mean, the vampire is definitely in the wild card family of archetypes. It's not classified in any of the others, so a little hard to typify with that. But the action archetype, this feels very yang, the shadow attribute, embracing negative causes or committing to causes for personal gain, right? So, so the advocate that advocates for things that they know are not the real deal, or that are doing harm, and that they're getting some kind of personal gain for it. Now, the overarching relationship, I know I'm not going to spend as much time with that advocate, because really, unless you are really relating to that advocate in this twin flame, really the first line horizontally is for the Libra collective sun, moon, rising Venus signs, just to help clarify for me to set this up. So the overarching here, this is important. The storyteller. Now, the storyteller in its light is wonderful. I mean, it's very soul-driven. Ability to experience and express life through stories and symbols. I mean, that's a wonderful thing, the storyteller. I have a touch of the storyteller. I know a lot of people who do, artists in particular, but then people who will just sit down and just tell you a story of their life story, you know, fact or fiction, but either way can spin a yarn. But the shadow attribute, making up tales that harm others, you know, that's a whole different story. Making up tales that harm others, essentially lies, right? That compulsive liar thing. So tricky with this one. That, and remember, this is an archetype for this month, that there may be some stories going on here, as well as, and I hate to use this term, but the stories that you might have in your head about what this relationship is and what this relationship isn't. Hence why people may not necessarily love my version, because I get the definition of twin flames being about you learning how to heal yourself. So if you are the vampire in this, how to become the vampire slayer, right? The vampire healer, because there are ways through that. I mean, you don't have to do it through looking at the symbolism of historic vampiric lore, but you know, there's a lot there. I'm just saying, there's a lot there. Go watch my video on Vimeo, DrawingTheCircle. I got a whole channel there too. So let's get some angels here. This is going to be fun to say. All right, my angels, please, really serious. All right, Tony, keep your feet grounded. Yes, now I get why. Please, my angels, one card for the Libra collective sun, moon, rising Venus signs in this twin flame relationship has this vampire archetype going on. Please, a piece of your guidance and grace. Children. Okay, so I'm also going to just jump right to the big conclusion there that, yeah, you may have, there might be children involved in this relationship somehow that you might have to consider, but this might very well be the inner child, the child archetype, not just the inner child, the child archetype, that perhaps if you were vampired, it was done as a child, because look, no, it's not like they used that language. It's not like they knew what they were doing. If anybody did vampire you, they just did to you. It was done to them, going back to what? Adam and Eve, if you want to go that far. Come on, codependence. It was necessary for survival for thousands and thousands of years. We literally depended on each other, but to this point now, we know that it's a pattern that not only has its psychological implications and therapies, but also a spiritual one. Absolutely check out, just as a basic, just check out The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. Good place to start if you want something readable and easy to find. Let's get an angel now for this advocate. Please, my angels, a piece of your guidance of grace for the advocate in this twin flame relationship with this Libra retreat. Okay, good. I'm saying, oh, good. It's like, oh no, they disappeared. You're telling me it's good. Well, but if they are in retreat, then there is an opportunity for you to deal with this, because what happens when a vampire is taken away from their source, right? Well, it's so funny, the word source. Source with a capital S. If you really look, like I think Bram Stoker's Dracula, that movie really did it, where he became a vampire by cursing God, right? Cutting off his connection. But you can't cut off your connection to the divine. We're divine beings. So it's about trying to draw from another, which you get directly from source. That's why I throw a vampire out in the sunlight. So if, you know, because it's a symbol of source. And there's a lot more to it than that. It's like just dusting the tip of that garlic iceberg. So if this advocate is in retreat, it's a good thing. Let it be. Let it be. Love what rises within you. We'll get there. Because now, my angels, please, one card in clarity for the storyteller archetype, for the overarching twin flame relationship, for this Libra collective sun, moon, rising, Venus sign. There we are. Well, music. Okay. Now, always a tricky card to me, but it says that there's a song playing out through this relationship for the month of September. The nature of that song, we will have a look. I have a feeling by the end of this, we will have an idea of what that song is, or, you know, there is that thing too, if there's any sort of artistic proclivity to express it through music, that there's something musical and oh, well, they're saying, yeah, there's absolutely, there are some things that are very specific, either music industry or particular connection to music, or you met through music. Oh, I get that. That's in there too, for, they're saying a decent percentage of the collective. Okay. Let's ask Aphrodite and Eros, shall we? Yeah, I'm wearing my totem of Aphrodite and Alexandrite. Beautiful ring. For a beautiful goddess who changes just like the colors of Alexandrite. And flattery will get you just about anywhere. Just about. I mean, she is a goddess. Okay. My gods, please. The card of clarity, the peace of your godly guidance and grace. For this Libra collective sun, moon, rising, Venus sign, twin flame relationship. This feels a little serious, and I felt very playful. So I get it, but in perfect love and perfect trust. Please, for this Libra dealing with the vampire archetype, the peace of your guidance and grace. Justice. Mott. Somebody's hearts get weighed. All right, that is the card of justice. That is the card of balance. That is a ray of light. Oh, I didn't even realize what I was saying until it was halfway out of my mouth. Maybe for the vampire, that's a little scary. But yeah, things are going to come into balance here. Remember that child here. Like, that's really important for you, that this is stuff that may very well go back to childhood. Therefore, probably not under your conscious awareness, let alone control. But if this is something that you've been working on, because, you know, the idea of codependence, well, chronic complaining, there's like a good key. Like, and I don't know you, so how can I be coming for you? I don't know you. But if you are a chronic complainer, that's a way of draining energy from other people, but it's for your psychic survival, because you're not plugging into the way that you could be, but that could be from a very young age. Just saying. And that's probably for most of us that have to deal with the wounds of codependence. They're the ego wounds, not the only ones. There's loss, which nobody escapes, the wounds of abuse, and the wounds of neglect. So tricky. All right, so let's get one now for the other. You know, it's really perfect for Libra, though. They're showing me that. Oh, yeah, duh, there are scales. This is a Libra card. I can't believe it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're like, look at the card. They're like, yeah. So there, you know, if you're going to say that there's a card for Libra in the major arcana, there it is. Excuse me. Shifting gears. Please. My goddess, oh, Mother Aphrodite, Lord Eros, please, one card of clarity, a piece of your guidance and grace for the twin in this twin flame relationship in retreat, pulling back, a piece of your loving guidance and grace, please. Oh, the learner. Okay, so they're studying, they're learning. They're putting into plan, not just an intellectual, trying to get the glare off of that. Maybe if I go closer, maybe if I grab it right. There we go. Right, the learner. in retreat to learn, right? And the prayer that I always make is to learn, to heal, to grow, to be the best that I can be. So there's a retreat now, whether into the self or literally retreating into their own education, or just kind of retreating. Well, can it be from the learning as well? Well, we shall see. That's why we've got other decks to clarify these. So Aphrodite and Eros, please, one card. A piece of your guidance and grace for the entire twin flame relationship here for this Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign. For September 2019. Ecstasy, though, 10 of Cups, gotta say, that's a good sign. I'd say that's a good sign. Wouldn't you say that's a good sign? Your cup runneth over. With that music and that storyteller, it might be that the story that's going on here, and it's a musical, it's got that musical element to it, that as this story changes, as you change the story, as the healing goes on throughout the month, we're talking about cup running over. Inanna's house of heaven, and Inanna is absolutely, the myth of Inanna is about going into the underworld and embracing the shadow. It just is. Go look it up. Go Google it. You don't believe me. Your cup overflowing. Now that can be within the self for each of you individually, or you have those real moments of ecstasy and healing here. But I don't get the sense from that, although we still have other cards, like particularly the Chuck Spezzano Love Pack, which is just chock full of what are called problem cards, which I affectionately call womp womp cards. So thank you, Aphrodite and Eros. Thank you. Let's turn now to the Masters. Now, I specifically in the blessing and the prayers and the shuffle before camera tuned to and really felt like they're calling in the lawyers for this one, and now I got it with the card of justice, because this is a contractual thing, right? So they called in the Ascended Master lawyers. Okay, you know, but the contracts of twin flames, like the specialists. Now I get why. There it is, that justice card right there for you. So I ask the Masters, please, for one card, a piece of your guidance and grace for the Libra in this twin flame relationship for September 2019. Okay, good. Tenderness. All right, so you know, womp womp right away. So the way to proceed with this, right, is to be tender, right? Reed Richards, Stretch Armstrong, right? So there's tenderness here. In other words, then it's the vampire child. You know, you have to be tender with that child. It just didn't know any better. And you know what? Whoever vampired you didn't know any better, and whoever vampired them didn't know any better. I mean, going back how far back you want to go. It's just the truth of the matter. So the thing here is for tenderness, for gentleness with yourself. Really, what better to balance the scales than a compassionate tenderness towards yourself and everybody else involved in here, really. So that's good. Let's get one of these for the twin, please. My Masters of True Love, my Masters of Twin Flames, the lawyers, please. One card here for this advocate. Now it's interesting, advocate and lawyers. So no, I'm not taking that one. Send it around again if you want me to take that one. Comes out in a chunk. Need one card. Your Honor. One card, please, for the twin in this twin flame relationship with the Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign. Here we go. For September 2019. Well, a dream come true. You know, I gotta say, I'm tuning back again to reminding me of how this originally felt, that there was something that did feel like really fun, like let's have fun here. So tenderness and dream come true, like this advocate is learning in this retreat that you're sort of their dream come true. Well, you're really going through this tender balancing of dealing with codependent behavior. Now, if the thing is that the advocate is the one being codependent and you are the vampire slayer already, then how you deal with that justice and to be tender, because I'm feeling this advocate here, they're learning, they are growing, they are becoming, and there's a dream come true here for them. So Let's have a look. Third line here. You guys are good. Please, one card for this twin flame relationship involving this vampire Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign and their twin, the Advocate in retreat, learning and their dream coming true. Please, one card for this relationship, September 2019. Betrayal. Okay, so I just got to say, with betrayal, there's always a third party involved, unless you're talking about you're each betraying yourselves. Now, that really paired with that card of ecstasy and music and the storyteller does not make a literal linear sense to me. But we're going to draw clarifiers for that. As a matter of fact, you know, we're going to save the whisper of true love for the end. That last line, that makes sense. I'm going to start clarifying with the angels and working through. I just feeling that's the better thing to do here. So thank you, my masters, because tenderness, dream come true, and betrayal. I mean, maybe that there's a betrayal of someone else, and the two of you are betraying somebody, but yeah, that could be twin flamey for sure. But with that storyteller, that's what doesn't make sense, and just that this is part of your story right now. But with music, it's weird. So that's why we're going to go in and clarify. So I'm going to start at the top. Now, I'll show you each card as I go, what I'm clarifying. We're clarifying this card of children from the angels. So my angels, please clarify this one card for this Libra, this child archetype. I see the one you want me to take. Universal balance. I swear to God, look, universal balance, Libra, Libra, Libra. It's about bringing this child, that there is a universal aspect to this, that this is it in absolutely everybody? Has everybody been vampired as a child? No. But that there's something going on in the balance of the universe, that this is coming up and it's time for this, that this is something you contracted to do. You're certainly not the only person going through this. Why else would vampire imagery, mythology, all manifestations of the archetype, why else would it be so damn popular? It's like, oh God, another vampire thing. I mean, there are some that I've loved. I mean, True Blood. I still wear my Merlot's t-shirt that he was a shifter. And the answer is Team Eric. Let's move on. Let's get for the Advocate in retreat here. Please, my angels, one card in clarity. Could you please clarify that card of retreat? Now, Sagittarius, which to me is ninth house. Ninth house is about spirituality. It's about hunting. It's about the search. It's about expansion. So I'm going to take that as an expansion, particularly because of that card of learning next to it in the tarot. That feels pretty clear right now. It doesn't mean that they are retreating with a Sagittarius. Like that's not feeling that at all. That's talking more about that ninth house expansion, Jupiter, particularly with learning right next to it, the expansion of the mind and the knowledge base. So then my angels, please, can you clarify this music card? Because this card has so many odd meanings in my head that to even, like, none of them feel right here. So please, something to clarify, my angels, please, for the overall relationship here, for this Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign, twin flame relationship, guardian angel. Now, again, there's another card like this, the Miracle, that is completely blank, but this has sort of a drawn angular star design on it. So the guardian angel, the higher self, is involved in this. This is definitely well, that's what a twin flame is anyway, right? It's a sacred contractual relationship situation, but that this is about the relationship, each of you connecting with your higher selves. Now, that word guardian angel, higher self, to me at this point in my life, my experience, and in my career are synonymous. I'm not the only person who shares that experience because I've been saying it for decades. Why in the world would this celestial being be following your human ass around all day long? No, it's the higher self of who we are, our fifth dimensional selves and above. So with that card of music, there is that guidance there. Like if there is song, music connected to you here, that there is a guardian presence, like let that trigger, let you remember, right, that this is about me, healing me, which in a way that facilitates, or in a way might even be a byproduct of that healing, you embodying, embracing the truth of who you really are on an eternal divine level, not just a spiritual level. Because yeah, angels are spiritual, but angels are divine, and this is a thing of mysticism. This is definitely something about the wholeness of who you are, and you being who you know you really can be, and who you really want to be. But for both of you, like the relationship, and that this is a song that's playing through this relationship right now. So let's really clarify the tarot here, and to do that, oh, by the way, this deck is the deck of Cosmic Initiation. Cosmic Initiation deck. Lovely. It's all in the links below. This is the dream deck. Now, this is very Jungian, very Freudian, about the interpretation of dreams. Like, they're good flashcards, right? If you're looking for, oh, what did I dream about? What was that about? Look it up. But I find in divination, they give this really interesting angle, particularly with the tarot. So just like the angels blessed the healing oracle and that cosmic deck of initiation, my gods blessed daughters of the moon as well as this dream deck. So let's have a dive. Aphrodite and Eros, please, a card of clarity for this card of justice for this Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign in this twin flame relationship for September 2019, please. A piece of your guidance and grace. You know this one, it's the divine child. Just to make a point, shall we? So that you see it. Right? So you got the divine child and the child archetype coming in to balance. Darling, this is about your innocence. This is about your core spiritual innocence, untouched by anything that has happened in this world. Shall I, if I can? Here we go. One of the most powerful archetypal symbols, the divine child, represents perfection, rebirth, and the innocence of primal wisdom. Usually appearing in dreams as a baby or infant, it possesses tremendous transformative power, revealing the path to the true self. The purpose of the divine child in a dream may be a reminder of your innate spiritual potential that has become obscured by material concerns. Pay attention to the child's words and deeds. Its advice could guide you to greater spiritual fulfillment in the future. That's the balancing factor there. Because the vampire child, when healed, is restored again to the divine child. Now, the divine child archetype, there's actually a Caroline Myss archetype card about that in there. I'm not fishing it out right now, but it is about, interestingly enough, an intimate connection with God, with the gods, with the higher power, call it what you want, the divine. So that's what balances this out. This is what's healing this in you. And this relationship is serving you in that way to help you heal it. So that's pretty cool. And also then there comes that playfulness too, that innocence of the divine child, which I think does make sense in some of this, but then there's that card of betrayal. Can't keep it out of my eye line. It's right there. So Aphrodite and Eros, please, one card of clarity for the twin in this twin flame relationship with this Libra collective. Please, the learner, can you please clarify that? What's that about? The interview. All right. The interview. Oh, yeah, look. So do you see the hands at the bottom, right? Just sitting across, and they're like, wow, you know, we looked at your resume. Do you have any references? Facing an interview panel for a job or an academic venture is one of the most stressful experiences most of us face in our waking lives. Yeah, I guess like auditions too. So it is little surprise that the scenario occurs frequently in our dreams. The interviewer or interviewers facing the dreamer may represent aspects of the self, suggesting a desire to hold oneself up to examination. The learner. Has anything happened to you recently in your waking life that could have prompted you to feel ashamed or inadequate? Did your dream self have any answers to the questions posed by the panel? So that's really interesting. Really, you put these two together. You've got someone who is going through this process of self-reflection and kind of looking at themselves and learning about themselves, because there are some things that they need to look at and study and learn about, like interviewing themselves. Interesting, right? I mean, you can go literal, oh yeah, well, they're retreating to prepare for an interview, but that's, again, too on the nose. And this is affecting you too, that in their retreat, just know that they're learning a lot, that they are being, the word scrupulous comes to mind, like they're being, well, it's an advocate, right? It's like they want to be compassionate here, so they may be doing the work within themselves for what's being triggered within them, right? And remember that Sagittarius retreat, it's like they're hunting for something, they're looking for something, there's an expansion there. All right, let's get the one here for this ecstasy card, which really is, I won't say it's the sun card of the minor arcana at all, but it's just so what everybody wants, right? And if that's just part of a musical story that's going on here and it's all about betrayal, that would suck ass. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. Then the healing here is what it is. I just don't feel like that's what it is. That's not the vibe. But you know, would I have felt that vibe from the get-go? No, I would have probably like gotten up, go to the bathroom, make a cup of coffee, right? And been like, whoa, doesn't feel right. Well, let's have a look. My gods, please. For this, oh yeah, Aphrodite and Eros, please, one card of clarity, your guidance and grace. Piece of your guidance and grace for this overall Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame relationship for September 2019. Oh, place of worship. This has come up before. There is the church, there is the steeple, and oh, it looks like the angel has been impaled, Vlad. Sorry, that was in bad taste. That wasn't kind, Mark, I apologize. Place of worship. A church or temple can represent the spiritual side of the dreamer, I got it, or perhaps a yearning for peace or higher wisdom. A high tower or tall spire would reinforce the image of reaching upward in search of divine inspiration. Did your dream self feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar in spiritual surroundings? Like a vampire might. You may be giving too much attention to the material world. Listen to your dreams. Seek out a quiet place, and if only for a short while, put worldly worries aside. Okay, so this feels truly twin flame in the sense that if both of you can really find your sacred space, like what is a church or a temple? It's a sacred space, but you know, we are the sacred space. We are fire, earth, air, water, and spirit. Hence, we are the pentacle. Hence, we are the altar. Hence, we are the perfect balance of fire, earth, air, water, and spirit. When we go out of balance, well, Libra, this is what happens. And this stuff is generational. So that the 10 of Cups, that overflowing of the heart, that ecstasy and the bliss really is, it's spiritual in nature. This is about each of you plugging in to source individually while you're apart. Honestly, if I was going to, that's not even a guess or a hunch. I've done it. I've been through it. And I have dealt with my own vampiric tendencies, but it's not lifelong for me. I've dealt with vampires, believe me. I've been with men that in retrospect, I look back and go, oh my God, I even looked like a vampire. It's happened a bunch of times, actually. And so I'm familiar. And that's why I go watch the Vimeo. I think it's like, oh, what, $5, $10, infinite views until Vimeo ends or the world does, right? So interesting line of energy. Let's get these clarifiers from the masters. Now this is the Osho Neo Tarot, one of the 3 new decks that I've introduced for these twin flame readings. Osho was at one point known as the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. Hold on one second. I am getting a little dry. This is water. I just filtered my water. It's a whole Ponopono thing. Look it up. Blue solar water. No longer in body Osho. And I love this deck. It's not typical. It's not really tarot. It calls itself Neo Tarot, but it doesn't have a major, minor, or court card system. So it's not technically tarot, but it is a collection of different insights and wisdoms, wisdom teachings, spiritual teachings, mystical teachings from around the world. More Eastern than Western in my experience, but it's a good blend. So let's have a look-see. We're going to clarify this card of tenderness. All right, now this really with the child archetype, the child there twice, right, with a universal balance. And I mean, your first line, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to get the vampire either, but huge opportunity here for you in this twin flame relationship. But it's tender. In other words, you don't have to throw yourself out into the sunlight or impale yourself on a wooden stake. But if the wooden stake symbolically is forgiveness, which is what I believe it is, right? An organic living thing to pierce and free the heart. Consider it. Symbolically. So, my masters, now I love you lawyers. I love the legal part of this stuff, the actual contracts. It feels like they're unrolling the scrolls of the contracts here for you. Please, a piece of your guidance and grace. Please, guidance and grace for this Libra collective, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign in this twin flame relationship, dealing with the vampire archetype, the universal balance for Libra, right, with the card of justice indicating balance, balancing the scales. The angels say the children and the gods say the divine child. With this tenderness, please clarify this card of tenderness for us. The piece of your guidance and grace. Work and worship. Work and worship. I will look that up because there's a booklet, and the stories in it are really good. And even the stories are thumbnail sketches to an extent. Obviously, there's more research that can be done in any of them. But there is like an opening quickie at the beginning to just get the whiff of it, which I'll read. For each of them. So now for this dreams come true, let's not forget, I mean, there's a lot going on for you here in the my Libra, but this advocate too, it's like they're learning, they're going through this process of self-examination. Did the dream come true? So let's ask the masters, please, this dream come true. What is this about, please? Piece of your guidance and grace for the other in this Libra twin flame relationship. The gates of hell. I love this one. I could tell you this story. I know this story. I know the story. I use this as a teaching point because I learned it from these cards and then went deeper into the research. All right, we'll get to that one. The gates of hell. I'm there. You're not the gate of hell. You're not the gates of hell. This is not the gates of hell. But in any moment, you're at either the gates of heaven or the gates of hell. Choose wisely. I'll read it from the book. Wow, that's big. For their dream come true. Is it heaven or hell? A big deal. So here we got this card of betrayal, my masters. Now it's already written into the divine plan. Betrayals happen. You know, it's the final circle of hell, the frozen lake, and all of that. And so there are wounds here, but does that mean that these wounds are going on in the individuals? Are they betraying each other? Is that the baggage? Because really, with that card of 10 of Cups, it's a little off whack, particularly with the guardian angel and the storyteller. I mean, all of a sudden, it's like a little bit of pardon my French, turd in the punch bowl. Actually, I don't know how to say that in French. Thank you. I don't think I can repeat that now. So please, one card here in clarity. What is this betrayal about in the overall relationship? What is this a betrayal of? Please, a piece of clarity, your guidance and grace for this overall Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame relationship, September 2019. Intelligence. Is it a betrayal of intelligence? Let's read these. I will get these from the book. We're going to start with number 58, and so that's near the end. 53, 56, 57, 58. So this is the card of work slash worship, clarifying that card of tenderness. Don't shirk your responsibility. Be intensely alive in the work you do and go on doing whatever is humanly possible. Yet at the same time, create no tension. Remain unfrustrated. Trust and allow your doing to become prayer without attachment to the outcome. Blessed be. Blessed be. That's where your tenderness comes from. That your work and your worship are one and the same. It's if look, vampire archetype, you want to do this tender and gently, just start with your spiritual practice. Just not spiritual to do busy work. No. But really dive into, focus into what is your spiritual work and what is the work, what is your worship that you can do while at work to integrate the two here. And you can do that in a tender way. And maybe it is just about, you know, one of the hardest spiritual things to do is to be kind. Like, start there, to be tender, to be vulnerable in this world where everyone seems so up in arms. And I don't blame them. The psychic atmosphere, I mean, psychic free radicals like smog, the air pollution's enough, but like the psychic pollution, right? So if you're energy sensitive, I get it, honey. I get it. Stepping out into the sunlight ain't easy. But there's a connection there to that's available for you, and to go tenderly. In other words, the masters would see you as a child that was bitten very young, and therefore are being very tender and gentle with you, that when ultimately, oh, that's very sweet, ultimately when your heart is weighed, it will be lighter than the ostrich feather. You will move on from this. This was necessary. This is the stuff that your soul read in the script and went, oh, that's so classic. Absolutely. Let me vamp for a while. Doesn't mean you can't have a good time as a vampire. I had plenty of fun with my vampires. It's just draining. And some of them financial too, just saying. So a little scanny wanny here. Looking now here, that makes sense with the gates of heaven or the gates of hell. So again, this is clarifying the dream come true for the other, the gates of heaven and the gates of hell. And that's number 36. Oh, close. He's very close. Here we go. Oh, no. No, there are two different cards, the gates of heaven and the gates of hell. You got the gates of heaven. Yeah, got the gates of hell. Oh, I see, because the gates of hell and then the gates of heaven is right underneath it. All right, gates of hell, sorry. Remember, every moment you have the chance to be in heaven or hell. If you are unconscious, you are in hell. It's all up to you. Well, yeah. And the story here is, and I won't go too deep into it, is that there was a monk standing in the road, and the samurai, I believe that's a samurai, it certainly looks like the garb, although I am no expert in the art of the period or time, but I'm pretty sure it is, came up, and it was a narrow walkway, and the warrior, let's just call him that, walked up to the monk and said, "Get out of my way." And the monk was like in silence and meditation. He's like, yo, dude, sorry, I don't want to mangle anybody's tradition, but trying to do this in paraphrase and clarity. Masters, give me the words. And the master stood his ground, just quietly, silently, peacefully, non-resisting, but standing there in the moment. And when the warrior said again, "Monk, get out of my way, or I shall cut you down," put his hand on the hilt of his sword, then the monk responded, "Be careful at this moment. You are at the gates of heaven or the gates of hell. Choose wisely." No, he didn't kill the monk. Spoiler alert. But now put that in context of dream come true. Like, they are at this place right now where this is either their dream come true or a nightmare come true. It's all about how they are perceiving it. What will they do? What action will they take? What energy feels that action? So get that what they're going through here, that this is somebody who has the opportunity to really choose to make a dream come true, but that dream come true may not be with you, and we have to be ready for that. You have to be ready that that might be the most terrifying thing in the world for that child, but as that child heals, not only will that matter less and less, it will not be so hungry because you will be feeding that child. It will not need to feed off this person. But at the same time, this is an advocate, somebody who that if you actually like told them what you were going through at some point, really honest communication here might very well put compassion into action and be there for you. May not be able to give you what you want. You may not be able to give them what they want, but I feel like they would understand because maybe they went through something similar themselves, and there aren't 2 vampire cards in this deck, but 2 vampires finding each other. Talk about a tug of war. Talk about a turbulent relationship. Okay, so let's do this this last one here, this card of intelligence. Intelligence with betrayal. Now, I said before, when I pulled the clarifier, I was like, I really don't get why this card is here, unless it really is all based on past betrayal or a betrayal of self, unless you two are really betraying each other, someone betrayed the other. We're looking at number 57, which, yes, is near the back. 57. Use your intelligence to look for things where they are instead of where they're not, even if it's dark. Look within. Well, that tells us that no matter what might be going on in the outside world, this betrayal, look within. Look for where it actually is, right? Don't go looking, for a palm tree in the Arctic, right? Look where it actually is. Look within. That there's a betrayal of self in this that can really be emotionally transcended with that 10 of Cups through a making of sacred space. So if the 2 of you are separated from each other, it totally makes sense. But that card of the storyteller here, it's like there are stories here that do need to be shared. I think that's what I was picking up on there. So now I get why they wanted me to save the Whispers of Love for last, because I love this deck so much, my Libras. I highly recommend it. The link's in the box below. Seriously. Let's do this. My collective pantheon of angels, gods, and masters, please, a whisper of love for this Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign in this twin flame relationship dealing with the vampire archetype, the universal balance of the child archetype, the divine child in balance with the card of justice, and with that worship with tenderness. Please, a piece of your collective angelic, godly, and masterful grace and a whisper of love. Be willing to express love. Be willing to express love. When we express love, we begin to receive more love. That's why that storyteller is down there. It's like, tell your story and express love. It's like, I do love you and I want to love you. You may not be there yet. This is a month. Don't get this reading and then text them. Go through your process. Go through your healing. Your child will tell you when it's ready. First of all, when it's not starving and ready to drain them, if that's the vampiric thing that's going on here, I'm starving. It's like, that's where the work comes in, but to be tender and gentle. And you can express your love, but express your love to that child first and constantly, like you're caring for a child that is calling for your love. It's okay for it to feel the pain that it's feeling, but it needs to come up to get out. And the only way out is through. I wish there was another way. Repression does not work. Sorry, I didn't make that rule. So be willing to express love. So now my pantheon of angels, gods, and masters for the twin in this Libra Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign relationship, September 2019, please. A whisper of love for them. The advocate in retreat with that Sagittarius card of hunting and expansion. With that interview with the learner, that's just like, it feels like such self-examination and learning and finding out things about themselves that are at the gates of hell. Depending at that moment what they choose to do, how they're seeing it, because there's a dream come true in this for them somehow. So please, a whisper, a piece of your collective angelic, godly, and masterful grace for the twin in this twin flame relationship. Be in the present and dream of the future. When we dream come true, everything is possible. I swear I don't read the cards. How could I? But that looks so cool on my neck. Sorry, I do a Venus and Libra. Stay in the present moment, right? They're at the gates of heaven and the gates of hell in any given moment, with their dream coming true or not. Be in the present and dream of the future. Just be in the present more. Be in the present while you dream of the future. You know, treasure mapping and, you know, all of that. But dream of the future also means to be receptive, to allow the dream to inspire. Incarnate it. One more. And this is kind of beautiful. It really is. Considering we started with the vampire, this is a very beautiful thing. And we're not ending with that card of betrayal. We are one more here. So, last card down, please. My pantheon of angels, gods, and masters. One more card. A whisper of love for this Libra collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame relationship for September 2019. Please, we've got a storyteller. Yet the guardian angel with music somehow, which still seems interesting, not completely gelled even for me. But with that 10 of Cups, with the holy space, the temple, the church, that sacred space, that totally, I feel that it clicks. It's there for both of them individually. But that betrayal with intelligence, for them to look within at the betrayal. How are they betraying themselves, their true selves, the guardian angel, perhaps the higher self? How are they betraying that? But the higher self never sees it that way. It sees it as a necessary part of the script that they're playing out, that we're all playing out. We all get betrayed. We all betray ourselves. So please, a whisper of love for this twin flame relationship. Like attracts like. If you are longing for more love in your life, you need to be more loving. And so what did you get, my Libras? Right? Be willing to express love. Right? So like attracts like. This is a twin flame. This is a twin flame relationship, turbulent as can be. The betrayal there, when you betray yourself, you betray the other, and you betray the other, you betray yourself. That this is about your own personal healing, growth, learning. Very, very powerful spiritual bend to this. And I am going to clarify something here, just intellectually to start with. Not necessarily romantic sexual. In other words, if we only want to keep it in that, yes, there is something certainly romantic about vampires. They don't come in through the front door. Well, you invite them in the front door, but they don't show up at the kitchen door, right? They are at the bedroom window. There's something sexy and seductive, usually. Or if not sexy, something seductive. Often in the vampire. It's how they seduce their prey. So in that sense, yeah, maybe. But also people who just complain and drain people around, nothing sexy about them. So maybe that's a bit more Nosferatu, right? That the overall here, as I tune to this, that even though this could certainly be parent-child, this could certainly be all sorts of different relationship patterns, particularly one at work. And by the way, your twin flame relationships through work are just as much part of your plan as whoever it is you are sleeping with, want to be sleeping with, or don't want to be sleeping with anymore. Just saying, right? So my Libras, you know what to do here. You really need to kind of look at the balance that is your thing. And you know your birthday's coming up in September. So happy birthday, but get to work with the worship here, but be tender, be gentle, and be willing to express your love, particularly to that child that may have been bitten, right? So that it can be transformed again into the divine child. Well, Libra, I thank you so very much for your time. Please like and subscribe if you got something out of this. I'm going to keep doing this until until the gods reshift me, but it feels like this will be a part of my life for a while. I am a spiritual teacher. I am a spiritual counselor. And by the way, I am available for readings. I don't have anything planned for instance, Labor Day weekend. This will be out before that because I'm taking my birthday week off pretty much, September 6th. So I'm working through this weekend, and usually holiday weekends, people need a little help. So I'm here to help. Cool. Reach out. My info's in the box below. But for now, blessed be the Libra collective, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs, and twin flame relationships everywhere. May you all be blessed. May we all be blessed. By the way, I'm like I said, Venus and Libra. May we all be blessed with what we need to heal, to grow, to learn, to become the best that we can be. And fulfill our roles in the divine plan, fulfill these contracts, and be the true love that we incarnated to be. Thank you so very much. But for now, my darlings, I wish you hail, farewell, and a very balanced, holy, blessed be.